it working? I think it's working. It says poor connection, and we'll see what happens. So, just kind of a real quick video. I was sitting here pondering everything in the world, and my dog was sitting here. I was thinking to myself, and I was also watching some videos, of course. Because, let's be honest, that's what we all do. In the vast world that we have today, you can look up anything. It used to be worlds of encyclopedias and library visits and bumping into people who knew how to do things that you didn't to learn how to do things. I don't know what that was. Actually, I was eating some watermelon and it's in my teeth. Anyhow, the problem I have with college is, one, it takes time. If you're going to school, you know that they ask a lot of you, and at the end of the course or the term or whatever, you look back on it and you think, what did I take from this? Did I learn anything new? Chances are good most people would try to say yes. However, if you look at it in the grand scheme, I think some of the shortest terms are like 8 weeks. Some of them are much longer than that. And if you look at the amount of time on the whole spectrum, and you look at how much you had to pay for it versus what you were able to take from it, I don't see the value. And when you're looking at jobs that have specific requirements for X degree or Y degree or so many hours working in X field, that causes a problem. Because essentially what you're saying when, let's say a job says you must have 4 years of experience working in this field or a bachelor's degree in computer science, for example. Essentially what you're saying is, if you can't afford to go to college to get a degree that says you might have the basic knowledge, I'm still going to have to teach you how my business works so that you can function properly, but we know that you can think. It doesn't really say that you know how to think. It says that you know how to answer questions and look up answers to questions, or cheat your way through college, one of the two, and that you had enough money to do it. The other part of that is, if you already have 4 years of experience, likely you worked in a field that gave you that chance. If you didn't have a degree and you just have the experience to lean on, somewhere somebody saw something in you and said, yeah, I'll hire you because I know that you'll be able to do this. I might have to spend some time helping you and teaching you. However, it's still less than that guy that has the degree, or exactly the same amount. Now, the problem with that is when there's incentives to hire people who have degrees because they've paid for it, which is punishing the people who can't afford it twice. And you might be thinking, well, there's financial aid, there's scholarships, there's grants. People are just lazy because if they really can't afford it, then they can have somebody pay for it. Part of that's true, but for the most part, it's not really true. Now, the other problem I have with college is that person who doesn't get the chance. They know how to do something. They know how to think for themselves. They have taught themselves everything there is to know about a specific field. And going to college would just be kind of like a kick in the face or a refresher. And the kick in the face comes with, yeah, we know that you know this stuff, and that's great, but we're going to certify that you know it. It's just going to cost you $40,000 to $80,000. Wait a minute. I have to pay to learn from somebody who I could probably teach just as much in a field to get certified in it, so somebody will take the time to recognize my talents and hire me. I don't like that. Instead, if you hire somebody who shows potential. They say, yeah, I'm familiar with the field. I haven't been given an opportunity to work in it. However, I've been doing this as a hobby my whole life, and I'm self-taught. Those are the people that I'd be hiring. Not out of pity or anything, but because they have ambition to learn. They have the drive that it takes to push yourself to learn. And if you think about what college really is, it's somebody teaching. Now, if you look at a professor, many of them have experience working in a field that they teach. Some of them don't. And a lot of them were taught what they're teaching. And to quote a YouTuber, Louis Rossmann, excellent guy, really cool guy, has some amazing views on life and business as well, where if you go up the chain of all these people who have been taught something over and over and over, eventually you'll find a person who just taught themselves. They didn't go to school. They didn't get some opportunity. They saw opportunity, they learned it, and they took advantage of it, and then they capitalized on it. And then instead of being greedy, they spread that wealth of knowledge with anybody who was willing to listen. And then somewhere along the line, somebody decided, hey, we can teach this to anybody who thinks they might be potentially looking to go into this sort of thing and make money off of people who maybe are misguided. How many students start going to school for something and realize, this isn't for me, and change their major? It's a pretty high percentage. And how many of them don't realize that until second or third year? It's still a pretty high percentage. So by the time that they're done with college, you look at their loans or grants and all the money that it has cost them. They might have an associate's degree that costs them $35,000, $40,000. But in here, what they had before they even started was a greater wealth of knowledge in a field that they would love to have an opportunity working in. They don't really know how to do it themselves. They're not a business person. They can't create that goal for themselves, or they can't figure out exactly the logistics of how to implement it. One thing I've been told is find something you love to do, and then figure out how to monetize it. Now, that's the hard part. A lot of people can think of 18 things off the top of their head that they'd love to do. A lot of people can think of things that they're good at that they didn't really think was a big deal, but on occasion people say, oh my gosh, how did you learn that? That's amazing. And there's like, I tell myself it's easy. They're like, well, I mean, can I pay you? And you're like, nah, that's fine. Buy me dinner sometime. Now, that's a person who doesn't realize that they have that gift, something that they taught themselves how to do, something that it comes naturally, and they're able to give that to people and really make a difference. But they don't recognize that, and they don't recognize the value behind what they have because of how easy it was for them, how they are a natural to it, and they don't see that it can be monetized. And if they do kind of think, oh, hey, maybe I could do this, I could offer this to people, and they could pay me for it. And typically they're going to undervalue their time. They're going to think, oh, this is super easy for me. I could do this, it takes 20 minutes, half hour. Let's see here, I could do 16 or 20 of them a day. I want to make somewhere around $500 a day, so 16 or 20, I'll charge $20, $30 a pop. Now, the problem with that is the overhead. What it takes to actually get to that point where you can get that type of customer base, what it takes to get to that type of recognition, breaking through the noise, people realizing, oh, you have something to offer here, and you want to help me. That takes a lot more. And typically that person's probably not going to be okay, or not up front realize or feel okay, again, to quote Lewis, with charging $100, $200 for a service that is super easy to them, because they don't quite realize that it's not easy for everybody else. It's easy for them because they have experience in it. They've figured out the best way to do it. They've optimized it, and they've had that passion in that field to continue to press themselves to figure out a better way to do it, a better way to optimize it, to make it more efficient. They've gone through the hard work to figure out how to make it easy for them. And after you've been there for so long, it's really hard to kind of see that. You lose sight of that, and you think, well, I can't charge $100 for a simple building of a computer. They're already paying for the computer. I would only feel right maybe charging $50 to put it together and get it set up. However, that same person who's building a computer, or you're building their computer for them, sorry for the shaky camera, they don't know how to do it. They don't know what parts go where, or what models go with what, or what socket of processor is going to match their motherboard. And the biggest thing that they don't know is what they need. When it comes to a computer, I'd say the greater majority of the population outside of the realm of gamers or content creators or a niche market, they have way too much computer for their needs. Or on the other end of the spectrum, they've been holding on to a computer for 12 years and they don't even realize that it doesn't fit their needs anymore. And so when these people come to you wanting a computer built, to stick with the same example, you have all of this knowledge. You know what parts could go together. You know that if you build a computer with X, Y, and Z, it's going to have ABC performance. You know that that's going to suit, this type of need. And so when, grandma and grandpa show up and they say, well, we use the computer sometimes, for sending the emails, and Jim, he likes to look up his videos and stuff, and really that's about all we use it for. They don't realize that they don't need a $500 computer. They don't need a $1,000 computer. And they definitely don't need that $200 boxed computer, pre-built, that's like a reject off of the factory line and been bundled as a top of the line, all in one, ready to go, because that's going to be a headache. I always feel bad for people who think, oh, I just got this computer. It's brand new. I bought it straight from Walmart. And, the guy there said that it was going to be great. And I'm like, yeah, the guy there most likely didn't know anything about what this computer is, what the specs are on it. And it's like buying a loaf of bread at the grocery outlet. You can't expect it to sit on your shelf for a month. Maybe 3 days, because it's already at its end of life when it got to that shelf where you picked it up, and it's got 2 or 3 days left before it has to be sold. And so at that point, you're buying a computer that's at its end of life, and they're just trying to make that extra buck from the people who, well, I don't want to say it, but for lack of better words, are too stupid. I won't say that, but don't have the knowledge to know that that is not a good deal. It's not what they think it is, and it's not going to suit them. You do. So when they walk in and you say, oh, great, so you need something for typical browsing, emails, maybe the occasional video. Okay, so yeah, we can build that type of computer for $350. Like, oh my gosh, really? I mean, what? Why not? Why is it so much? is probably the first thing that they're going to say. And it's, well, I've seen these, at Walmart that are $250 or $200. And maybe I just need a laptop. I see a lot of those are like $150. And you're like, you could try that. By all means, if that is going to suit your needs, to quote Lewis again, why are you coming to me? If you've got it figured out, where do I come into play with this puzzle? Sounds like you got a good handle on it. However, I might, like to bring to your attention a few things about those computers. And kind of what to expect when you purchase one versus what you would get from me for $350. And they said, okay, go ahead. So, well, let's start with what you get in the box. For $250 in the box or a $150 laptop, you're going to get something that's been using recycled parts. Not to say that they're not new, but they've been around for a long time and in a lot of products. And they've packaged them together kind of like a hodgepodge or a leftover pie. And they work. However, they aren't what they're advertised to be. They're built down to a price, and that price is crap. Because they're built down to a price that's worth about $50, and then they're charging you $250 on it. They have the highest profit margin of most of the computers out there when it comes to worth versus value. Now, on the other hand, of the end of the spectrum, from us, for $350, I'll make sure that you have a computer that suits your needs specifically, and it will continue to do so in that manner for as long as those are your same needs, which is a realistic goal. Because if the needs of the user don't change, that's how people end up with the same computer for 10 and 12 years. And of course, there comes a point where something inevitably breaks, and they've replaced it a few times. They don't understand why it keeps going out, which is a thing that happens. And at that point, it's more beneficial to go ahead and tell that person, hey, you've had this computer 10 years. I know that it does suit your needs as it stands today because it's still being used for the same thing it was the day you bought it. However, I think there's a lot of things in today's market that you might be able to take advantage of and kind of adjust your needs accordingly if you had the proper equipment to do so. If I can equip you with that, I think it will bring more value to your life. Well, that's going to cost a lot of money. Well, let's look at it this way. You've had this computer 10 years. Initially, you might have paid $500 for it, and you've had it repaired 3 times. Now, this would be the 4th time, and let's stay with the power supply issue. Let's say it's been 3 power supplies, and let's use a nominal cost of a power supply being $40. It's a nice round number. So let's say you spent $500 on it. Now we're on power supply 4, so you've already spent $120 in repairs for just parts costs, not including any labor or anything like that. So you've already paid probably 3 times what this thing originally cost, and probably 80 times what it's actually worth to continue using it. Now, instead of repairing it for you again today, instead of that $40 parts cost, let's bump that up to a $300 parts cost. The labor will be the same, and we'll get you a new product that's going to suit your needs for the next 10 years. And you'll be able to expand on that and kind of broaden your horizon, your view a little bit on what you are capable of doing with your equipment. And a lot of times it's, oh my gosh, you can do that? Well, yeah. And I assume that's why you came to me. Because that's my job. That's what I know. I'm not going to tell you to go down to the store and buy a cheap piece of garbage that's going to break down within the first year. And guess what? It will be out of warranty, of course. because I know what that cheap piece of garbage is, and I assume that's why you came to me. If that's not why you came to me, by all means, go buy that cheap piece of garbage. It will probably suit your needs. However, it's probably not going to last the 10 years that your last one did. If it does, that's great. By all means. And that's another thing. Again, dude, just rename this whole stream. Quote Lewis. There are those people who are like, oh, that's too much. I'm just going to go down here and buy this. Let them go. That's fine. You'll see them in 2 or 3 years and they say, man, I should have listened to you. Yeah, it was a nightmare. And if you don't, that's great. Hey, they got got what they needed and they're on their way. It's fine. The next person in the door, different story. So to bring this back to college, since I clearly went off on a tangent there, my big issue with it is the ideology around, oh, I'll hire somebody who has a degree for, like, what do people go to college for? They go to college so that they can get a degree so that they can get a job. I have my own views on that as well. They're a whole other topic. But if you look at the root, like, whole implementation as to why college exists as it stands today, the majority of people would say, when you ask them, why did you go to college? They say, so I could get a degree and get a job. At what point does an $80,000 degree that you paid to learn something give you a return on investment? Is it the day you get that job? No. Is it the day you have that job and you've paid off that school loan? No. Is it the day that you finally realize that you've got that degree, you spent the money for it, you've gone through 3 jobs, and now you really hate that and you break out of that shell and you start doing your own thing? If that's what it took to get you there, then yes, that is the day you finally found value in going to school. Because up until that point, you're just following a path that somebody said was going to be a good one, and that's not really the case these days. Myself, I'm impressed to see that there's more and more large companies and small companies alike that they don't have that qualification. We have anti-discrimination for everything under the sun, and yet it can be a job requirement that you have X degree, Y degree, Z degree. In my book, that's discriminating against somebody's wealth and intelligence. Now, IQ tests, of course, aren't always accurate to the T. However, they can give a pretty good indication as to whether somebody is able to solve problems on their own, or if they are only able to follow directions. And let's be honest, nobody wants to hire that person who you've told them how to do something 80 times, and the 81st time they're still not thinking for themselves and they're still asking the same questions because you haven't spelled it out on paper step by step by step, and you don't know how. It's not their fault. You don't know how to convey it to them that, dude, you've done this 80 times. You can do it. Like, trust yourself, believe in yourself, empower yourself to think. Use your brain. Like, you have it. I know you do. Now use it. And a lot of times the person that goes, not hired is the person who doesn't bother trying to apply because they don't have a degree. And yet they've been doing that same type of work in their basement as a hobby because it's their passion for 20 years. And that person never given a chance for the job. On some occasion, those people might be out and about. They might bump into the right person who happens to be having a problem that they're super familiar with, and they've been doing it for years, and they say, hey, I'll take care of that for you. And they jump in, they get it done in just a matter of minutes or hours, and like, wow, that was amazing. I mean, you dropped everything you were doing just to help me out, and you knew exactly what to do. Where did you learn that? And they'll pause. And that pause is what you need to look for. That's confusion. What do you mean, where did I learn it? I mean, I taught myself. I dug in my resources. I scoured through pages of books and articles, and I tore things apart, and I learned. I used my brain, I thought, and I developed a process that I knew solved X problem. And that person's going to be dumbfounded. What, you taught yourself this? Like, I mean, do you work in this field? No, I would love to work in this field, but everything in this field that would be able to pay me a living wage won't hire me. And I've applied for a couple entry-level positions where, I mean, not me personally, but the person in our example, where I've been asked if I felt overqualified, and I have to say, yeah, I do. Because your job requirements for this job actually allow me to apply, whereas the ones that I do feel qualified for, I don't have the degree, I don't have the qualification, so I don't apply. So that right there is limiting a lot of people stuck in this like limbo between, should I go to college just to get this stupid degree so I can actually apply for these jobs I know I'm already qualified for, and given the opportunity I could flourish and show them that I'd be like the most valuable asset that they would ever have and not want to let go of? Or do I try to start my own thing? I'm not equipped to do that. I don't have that mindset. I don't have that discipline. I need somebody, a partner who can figure out the logistics, the planning, and set it up. I mean, I'm great with my thing that I do. However, I don't know how to execute on that unless somebody hands it to me or brings it up or I run into it. You can't be walking around the streets just hoping the business pops up. That's no way to make a living. And that's where you either need more people who are able to do that part of the business and pair them together. And that's how a lot of great small businesses show up and start flourishing. If you look at a lot of the huge corporations, I hate to do it, but I'll use the example of Facebook. The originator, Mark, he didn't have a college degree. I could be wrong on that. Maybe he does, but I didn't believe he did. And I would be willing to say most of the top successful people in the world today don't have that degree, or at least didn't when they started and became successful. They might have picked them up afterwards. Sorry, just had to wipe my lips off there. I was drying out. Anyhow, they didn't have that. They found a problem, they found a way to execute on it, and they just kept doing that, and it grew and grew and grew to the point where they had to do something about that growth. Now, the world today, revenue is all about growth. It's not a matter of how big you are or how much revenue you have. It's more about how quickly are you moving, how quickly are you growing, how quickly are you able to adapt and expand. And that's the key right there, is learn and adapt. Really all you have to do is use your brain, figure out how to solve those problems, adapt to it, and then monetize. Now that's hard, and that doesn't come naturally to a lot of folks. At least ones that I've bumped into, that it doesn't. And to get back on track here, those people who are stuck, they're sitting in some menial job or manual labor job, wasting away, still doing their hobby or passion, always learning new things on the field that they would really love to work in, and never being given the opportunity to even try to prove themselves. And realistically, I would love to see any and all jobs that say, bachelor's degree, X degree, Y degree, or X number of experience. Of course, it has to be documented working experience. It can't just be experience in your basement, because they can't prove that. Everybody in the dog would have that. So instead, I would also like to see on there, or submit a portfolio, submit who you are, what you know, show us who you are, and at the very least, with that qualification, it could even be prefaced with, or we'll look at a trial service period of X time period based off of this qualification, to give those people the opportunity to not only show themselves who they actually are and get that experience, but also to allow them the opportunity to just apply. Most people think, oh, well, I don't qualify, so I'm not going to apply. Even if it says you got to have a bachelor's or 4 years of professional experience and you don't have those, by all means, always apply. If you think that it's a job that you can be masterful in and just don't know how to execute, take the time to write up a brief on your application. Document yourself, really sell yourself, offer to work on a trial period basis, offer to prove yourself at little or no cost, whatever's legally acceptable these days. Offer to do an unpaid internship where you learn and can express yourself. And of course, internships, technically you can't be benefiting the business, and of course you're not. Even if you're working, you're still a burden on them, because they have to take time to teach you. And what an employers would be looking for in an internship is, okay, before we got you in as an intern, our productivity was at X many hours. And dang, I'm really just kind of on the Lewis train tonight. I just watched a video of his on productivity and employees and hiring the other day, and I agree. Like if in 12 hours you can do 40 jobs, as soon as you hire an employee thinking, okay, they can help out, you're going to notice that, you cut your day by 4 hours. They're in there working alongside you, and of course, now you're doing less jobs in the same amount of time. Well, of course, now it's 8 hours, not 12 hours, and you're thinking, but there's 2 people, so realistically that's 16 man hours, but you're doing less. So instantaneously, there's no problem. Should the case ever come up that, oh, you're illegally benefiting from an unpaid intern, it's no, he is doing work, or she is doing work, and that is for their benefit, to learn, to get the experience. We do have them do jobs, but we still have to take time to teach them how to do those jobs. We still have to allow them the educational opportunity to partake in that job. And it costs us X many hours, which equates to X many dollars. So if we were paying them even, it would be a much bigger burden. So we're not directly benefiting from anything. It's all about them learning and having that opportunity. And I know that a lot of places, they stumble on this and they think, well, we can't have them do work because then we would be getting a benefit. No, the only point in time that you would be getting a benefit from an intern is if they reach your level of productivity and all of a sudden your workflow goes up in the same amount of time. At that point, there would be a problem. You need to hire them instantly and start paying them a livable wage because you found an amazing person. That's going to be rare, and that's really how it should work is, come on in. Let's get you to work. Let's see what you can do. Do you learn on your own? How many times do I have to show you the same thing over and over and over? And that's okay. I'll do that. Just know that your internship can only go up until the point where either it's not going to work out because it's just not the right job for you in this environment. Not to say that the whole field is gone for you, but in our particular line of the field and our logistics, it's not a good fit. Or you've superseded our expectations and now you're too productive and it's illegal for us not to pay you, so welcome aboard. And with that, it's just like, it seems obvious to me that that is how it should all be. You would save I don't even want to get into it because I don't have all of the numbers drawn up, and I'm kind of going off of my own thoughts right now, but correct me if I'm wrong. How much time and money is spent in HR departments just looking for people to apply? How many recruiters are hired looking for people to apply? And then how much time is put in interviewing these people over and over and over? How many hours go into training the person who finally got selected out of all of these applicants to get hired, to only then quit or be fired or not be able to meet goals? I'd be willing to bet that if every person who was looking for a job, they said, hey, you're legally allowed to work, great, come on in. You got a passion in this, great, don't care about your qualifications, let's give it a shot, let's go from here. If you hate it, good day. If we hate it, good day. If you're amazing, you start tomorrow and you make this much money, take it or leave it. All right, excellent, thank you so much. Problem solved. Damn. Oh, there we go. Gotta quit. The other problem I have with college is reputation. If a job requirement is that you have a bachelor's in, say, computer science, why would one college look better on an application than another? Oh, he has a bachelor's in computer science from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, MIT. Let's look more at this person. Oh, this kid over here has got one from, well, it looks like he got an associate's at a community college, and then his local state university is where he got his bachelor's. Yeah, we'll look at that one too because he does qualify. However, we're not allowed to discriminate in any way, and of course, Lovey, we would be discriminating against money in class. Yeah, terrible accents, I don't know. So the reputation of the school coming into a factor. One thing I've heard over and over and over and over and over is, oh, that would look great on a resume. Why? It shouldn't. I don't care if you cheated your way through Princeton, MIT, or some state university. Doesn't matter. Well, it shouldn't legally matter. The reputation of the school. Oh, well, this school has people who perform top of their class, and many successful people send their kids to the school, and blah 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 blah. Who cares? That you can't speak for a student and how well they have done in your school on your reputation. You don't know that individual. You don't know how they learn. Yeah, you might have taught them a foundation of learning, and they may have been able to adapt to that and get through school. However, it doesn't state that they will be successful, although that's the bias that is imparted. These stigmas and stereotypes and inadvertent biases on not only what degree you have, but what school it came from, is swaying somebody's choice. Is of course that's not what's happening, of course. However, why do you think that these schools continue to have successful people flourish? Well, it's because these people hiring them, giving them the opportunity to prove themselves, is a much larger number. Oh, well, we don't let that many people go to our school. We only accept the best of the best and the brightest and blah, 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 and SATs and blah. Who cares? What's your turnover rate? What's your dropout rate? What's your graduation rate? Okay, how many people do we have apply from these schools year after year after year? How many people do we hire have apply from other schools? In that ratio, how many people do we hire out of both of them? I think you'd be surprised. I haven't looked in the numbers. I'm sure I'd be surprised too, but I'd be willing to bet that, let's say 5 people from Harvard apply, just to use Harvard name. I don't know why. I don't even know. Isn't that a law school? Let's use Princeton. I think that they do techie things. Let's say college. I don't like it. I mean, I'm currently going to college, and I have my own philosophy on that. I'll share later. However, let's say 5 people from Princeton apply, and 4 of them get hired. And then let's say that 500 apply from state universities and online schools. And let's say 100 of them get hired. Okay, so 1 in 5 from these and 4 of 5 from these. Not only was it a much smaller pool, so they would have had to been looking for them pretty hard, or had some sort of algorithm flagging those ones and being placed more toward the top so they'd be seen, or somewhere around the 37% area. Or is it 36, 32? Somewhere between the 30-40% area where, you're not gonna pass the best and you're not gonna lose the best. That whole optimization problem, that's a whole nother talk as well. And I'm sure that we'd be able to correlate that same data. Of course, don't quote me because I haven't taken the time to actually look it up, nor do I know if I would actually have that type of data at my hands. I'm sure with enough research we'd be able to find something. However, I'd be willing to bet that there would be a strong indication showing that there is a bias towards people from more prestigious colleges being given opportunities of employment, even though there's so far fewer of them applying. Still, a higher percentage of them are getting the jobs. And why? You have to ask, why? Are they pitying them for paying so much more? Like, we gotta give them the job. Like, it's Princeton, they paid way too much money for this, and you gotta pay that off. We gotta be that person to help them pay that off. Well, I doubt it. It's because they fall into that trap of reputation, and they think, okay, yeah, this person's gonna be great, and they come from a rich family, and we won't have to worry about stories and stress and blah blah blah, whatever else excuses people want to make. Realistically, I'll take somebody who was self-taught in any field over a college graduate any day of the week, for the sole reason that they've already proved to me that they can think for themselves, they can figure things out, they can use their resources wisely and make the best of their time because they want to. The leading motivational factor of college and pressing your way through it a lot of times is the cost. Oh, well, I'm paying a ton of money to do this, so I guess I better do it. And what that means... Okay. What that means is quite typically most students... Jill! Sorry. What that means is most students are going to start cutting corners. They're going to, start trying to take advantage of loopholes. They're going to try and find cliff notes. They're going to pay for work to be done. They're going to, a lot of them are going to invoke these habits, and that's essentially teaching them all what you don't want to hire You don't want to hire somebody who just looks for the answer to the question. You don't want to look for somebody who just knows how to rattle off memorized data when asked a specific question or a form of a question. You want somebody who can take that question and, without any prefacing, know a few places to look to potentially answer that question, to then learn why that question was asked, the principles behind it, what it means to answer that question. That person who's not only going to be able to tell you the answers, but why those are the correct answers and why they're the best answers. And a lot of times in college, that person gets punished. If that person steps out of the norm or the book and provides answers that aren't specific, the teacher, the professor, doesn't understand the principles that they're teaching. And that answer that student comes up with is correct. It is valid. They've done the footwork. They've spent extra time because they were passionate about it. They applied their brain and the resources to get that answer. And they'll tell you why, how, and what it pertains to, and the functionality of it. And they'll get it wrong. Because that's not the answer in the book. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, professor, you don't know what I'm talking about because you're an idiot. You were taught how to teach a book or a topic, and you're closed-minded. You don't want to take time to look at the base principles that you're teaching and understand that, hey, that does apply, and you're absolutely right. That's excellent. Thank you for expanding my knowledge as well. I see that you're enjoying this course. Good job. No. I mean, that you are seeing more of that now, where people are open, of course. However, in my experience in the past, those people were not the ones that were getting the best grades. They were often the ones that struggled, and then the ones that came to the realization of, not only am I not learning anything here, but I'm teaching myself everything that they are telling me I need to learn, and realistically all I need is a list of what I should be learning, and I'm set. Why am I paying for this? This is not my money's worth. Because there's one thing I know in life, and that's that people don't want to feel cheated. They want to feel that they're getting their money's worth, and they want to see the value in their money or time being spent. And college is a suck on both of those, your time and your money. So not only does it cost an ungodly amount of money just to go to college, which is ridiculous, but it also costs time. And for somebody who is working even one full-time job, and going to college, how much money is coming out of their pocket just to pay for school, even if they got grants and loans? Because the time that they have to commit to it while they're trying to feed a family or feed themselves or live in general, it creates an entire loop of a burden on this whole population of people growing up who want, they know and they know what they want to do, and they don't know how to. They know what they want to do. They know how to do that thing, but they don't know how to execute it. They don't know how to implement it. They don't know how to bring it forward or find somebody to help them do that. It puts this whole burden on society in this never-ending loop of, oh yeah, you're smart, I get that, but you don't know how to do it. So you need to go to college in that field so somebody will hire you, so you know how to do it. And other than that, I guess good luck on your own. And what does that do? Everything comes down to here, because the time suck, the money, it's a giant circle of, let's take an example here. Somebody, let's say a student graduated high school, and they're like, hey, I got a job I've had for a couple years now, working after school. I'm going full time on it, and I'm going to start going to college too. Maybe it's not a good time to move out, or maybe I'll stay on the dorms. I don't know. And soon enough, one of two things happens: either they stop working or they stop going to school, or they try to do both and they're miserable. They are eating hamburger helper and a cup of noodles and living on dorm, working as many hours as they can, still hardly able to afford life. And it's because not because they don't have the job that's paying it, not because they are paying for school, because while you're in school you don't have to pay on any loans, of course, if that's the route you took. However, when you don't have time for yourself, you make up for it by trying to spend money to compensate for not being able to do the things that you enjoyed to do with the time that you had prior. Uh, Instead of saying, "Oh, I've got 4 hours to go do something fun," it's I kind of have an hour to myself every day now, so I'm gonna buy something that is gonna be able to fill that hour and kind of help me come back down to you know realizing that you know this give me that enjoyment, kind of give me that fulfillment, and of course it doesn't work. Next thing you know, they don't have money, and so then it's just parties, and all of the money that they work hard for doesn't get saved or anything. It just gets wasted in weekends. Is what I like to say is the weekend comes around, everybody parties, drunk, food, alcohol, go out with your friends. It's wasted. It's being so all of that capital that they're working hard to have is going into enjoyment to deal with the stress of working and going to school, which feeds that money back into the economy at the cost of that person learning and having to pay an ungodly amount of money to learn it. So that's probably my biggest problem with college is it's overall in the big picture, the amount of money that it costs to go to the bottom of the chain to have somebody teach you something the only way they understand it and know how, as well as if you look at who taught them and taught them and taught them and taught them, if you dig into that list of credentials, eventually you're going to get to a person that doesn't have a degree. They just knew how to do it and they started teaching people. And that is the problem. The successful people in life are those who do not have degrees, the ones that taught the people who are teaching the degrees. Realistically, we should not have college. We should have jobs who hire people. And instead of having a school, if that person requires more learning in that field that they're educated in, they would be able to, present that time and opportunity to them for X agreement. If it doesn't work out, hey, that's okay. Try something else. Here's X, Y, and Z other place. Maybe those would be things that you'd like or would flourish at, because what I see in you, you can get that realistic feedback from somebody who is currently helping mold you to their business and logistics, and they're going to see your shortfalls and your strengths, and of course any good learning environment would be pointing out your strengths and helping you overcome your shortfalls and really developing you. And somewhere along the line, those people will see in you, dude, I see that right now you're kind of struggling with this place and what we have to do. However, I think you'd be a great fit for this place. And bam, referral to that place. And instead of showing up here tomorrow, you'll show up over there. Kind of like a internal network of all corporate entities, or just people who are like, yeah, I do this, they do that. I think you'd be a great fit over there. Let's try that out. And this kind of global look of, or not even global, this kind of a societal look at be the best person you are. Everybody's going to help you be that person. And if we see something in you that might be a better fit elsewhere, we'll bring that to your attention and let you decide. And everybody just helping everybody learn and grow, where it's not, oh, you got to have this, got to have that before we can even try to give you an opportunity. I'm pretty sure that if that were implemented, like, all the colleges just shut down tomorrow, and all those people were just brought on board to their whatever interests they had on a educational basis, it would be on the job learning with the potential to be hired or pointed in another direction where they would have the potential to be hired, where it doesn't cost anything. You may have the ability to make money for the work that you're doing. However, there's a greater potential of being discovered and being paid what you are valued for, and not just some minimum wage. It would be, hey, we don't start here or there. We bring you on with this. We start teaching. If it's not a good fit, we'll try to help you grow in that or overcome that or point you in the right direction. And from there, at some point along this line, you will find through this learning experience what it is you love to do, and they'll start you at what you're worth, because at that point they'll have a very good idea as to where you're at and what you are currently worth, and the scalability of what your pay is versus the benefit to the business, and at which point you become officially an employee that starts at X based off of how much productivity you have already brought, and they project seeing you bring. Problem solved. In an entire learning environment based around growth and how quickly we can establish people in the right places to grow, learn for themselves, and move forward, instead of paying a boatload of money in hopes that they're going to like it, they're going to do good at it, changing it, paying a boatload of money again. It's the same thing. Oh, if you get this, you can get this. If you get this, you can get no. If you get this, you'll be successful. No, if you get this, you'll never feel success, because the bar will keep moving. Always just be you and learn, right? It's the same thing with the college and requirements. It's, well, if you have this degree, then maybe we'll hire you. It should be worded, if you have this degree, we'll crush all your expectations in a bad way. We'll let you apply. You'll finally be qualified, but you don't have any experience. You're brand new. We encourage you to continue applying on our entry-level positions, and you do, and eventually you get a job. Oh, it starts at blah, and there's potential for growth, and here's your job, and there's no growth, and by then the school system's beaten out of you your natural ability to teach yourself and use your thinking, use your mind, use your brain to learn on your own. And so there you have no direction, you're in X position, and you don't know how to get to Y or Z. And most places, I don't want to say all, because some amazing places out there start you at the bottom, and their sole goal is to get you in the right spot where you're going to do the best. Now, those places are amazing. There's not enough of them. I hope to see many more of them very soon, because some of the biggest businesses currently are ones who have a mindset of, we'll hire anybody, we'll give you that opportunity, we'll give you 8 weeks of training, and we'll assess from there, and throughout your whole career we'll check in with where you're at, we'll check in with your development, we'll make recommendations towards what we think you would be doing great at, where you're struggling, how to overcome that. That mindset is awesome. It's we grow together, and we'll find the best you that there is, and it's not a punishment base or like, oh, you're not qualified. It's let's get you there, and that's what we need. So that's my big gripe on college, and this is now an hour long. So thanks for watching, and as always, no, the screen didn't freeze, I just did that. Rate, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down, but definitely I'm most interested in, leave a comment. What do you think? Are you on board? Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Am I crazy? Maybe there's a lot of points where I know that I don't currently have the data on. Maybe you do. By all means, please fill me in. My one motto in life is never stop learning. The other motto is invest in yourself. Nobody else will.